here with me. I got nobody. It is, what time is it? It is 8:45 in the morning. And this is Interstate 80. Am I on 80? I'm on 80. Going eastbound. And the traffic's moving near Chicago. I think this is a first. Let's see if anybody wants to jump on board here. I'm going to eat a banana, because I have a stash of bananas. That is the smallest banana. It looked as small when I bought it. Huh. Wow. Shrinkage or something. I shall babble forth once I have somebody on board. I'm zeroed out right now. Uh-oh, I got one. I am just now leaving Chicago. I am eastbound on I-80, and look at this, traffic's moving. This never happens. And I'm going to get up here in the next mile and a half. We're turning southbound on 65, and we are going to blast to Columbus, Indiana with a little teeny tiny, and they're gone. Fine. I didn't want to talk anyway. Ugh. 36 degrees. It was 20 something last night. I'm noticing the roads here have grooves in them, and this going the direction we're going, I think that's for ice purposes. All right. I just picked up a load here on the east side of Chicago, a little hydraulic arm for Toyota, and I am heading towards Columbus, Indiana, a little right around 200-mile hop. East side of Chicago to Columbus, Indiana, direct. I spent the night at some little truck stop. I posted a video about that, and it was 20-something degrees last night, and when it's super cold out, I like to it's hard to sleep when it's really, really cold. So I got my generator out, and I plug it into a little floor heater. And I have an air conditioner for the summer, but I have a floor heater. Hold on here, I gotta watch what I'm doing. North, south. Nope, wait, uh-oh, jump lanes. Here we go. High performance. Stand by. Alright. And I'm getting ready to catch 65, and that's pretty much gonna be my last navigation turn coming up here. This literally takes me all the way to my target. Maybe over one more. There we go. And I turn a little floor heater on, and it doesn't make it hot in the van, but it makes it comfortable where I can sleep really well. And I shot a video about that. And when you don't want to leave a generator sitting around, especially in Chicago, because it won't be there when you get up in the morning. So I lock it to the. I've got a tow hook on the back of my van, and I just attach the generator with a cable lock. It's a little purpose-built device, and then I run it. The generator holds 1.6 gallons of gas, and it will run about 9.5, 10 hours, and I have a gas can on board, and when it's running low on fuel, it has a glass sight gauge on top, and this last summer I was sleeping in there, and all night long I was sawing logs, and then the engine starts revving up, you can hear it, kind of go, vroom, vroom, vroom. It's letting you know it's running out of gas. So you just jump out, stick your funnel in, and I have a 1 gallon can poured in, and it stops complaining, and then I go back to bed. But yeah, my little generator has done me well on this endeavor. So I went and picked up this load. I shot a video inside the factory. I thought it looked interesting, and that should be up on my playlist. But I wanted to talk about navigation. Most people, I mean, maps were the name of the game there for years and years and years. Yeah, my next turn's on 130 miles. Aha! All right, so I'm on this road for a while. back in the day, the navigation was maps. Everybody, used paper maps. And it is absolutely vital that you have one on board, because sometimes you need to look at the big picture, before you blast out, head out into the abyss, because the GPS can and will send you on a circumnavigous route, which will cost you extra time, or send you someplace you don't want to go. So get out your map, kind of look at where you're going, so you kind of have a sight picture, and go from there. And I use my phone for everything, and your brother including doing this. So I like to have a standalone navigation gear, which is an old school, I guess, by today's standards. I use a satellite GPS, which is what I have going right now. And also, we're all used to the electronic world we live in with unlimited access to phone, but there are places the cell phone doesn't work. It just flat out doesn't have reception up in the mountains and whatnot. And here, about a month ago, I'm with Verizon, and Verizon's like the biggest one out there. They had a nationwide cell phone shutdown for like 20 hours. They lost coverage, and it was weird because my company app is on there, my phone calls are on there, all the information of what I'm doing is on there, and my nav, everything is attached to your phone. If you think about it, nowadays we all have our entire life attached to our cell phone. So when you don't have cell service, you're kind of stuck with your pants around your ankles. So I like to use the dash sitting up here in front of me, my GPS, satellite GPS. But the satellite GPS has an attitude also. And just this morning, I dial it up, and then I put in the address and say go, and it says acquiring satellites, and then nothing happens. You wait. Acquiring satellites, you wait. 10 minutes later, it still doesn't know where it is. So I'll sometimes shut it off, turn it back on again, and we start the whole routine. And it did it one time so long that I literally Googled it, and I said, how do I make this work? And they said, go park way away from everything, lay it so it's face up, turn it on and let it sit there, but don't be moving. And I did it, and it came on. But just now it started playing that game again, and that's really frustrating, because when it finally decided to work, I was actually going down the road, and I hate playing with my phone going down the road. I like to get everything set up and everything, ready to go, then drive. I don't like to do that, but I had to program it going down the road. And on my phone, when I'm using it, I'll use Waze. And Waze gives you up-to-date traffic conditions and police vehicles and all kinds of new stuff. Also, when you start putting in an address into Waze, you put the number and the street name, and it knows where you're going 3 states over. You put in a full address into the satellite GPS, and you misspell one letter, and it doesn't know what planet you're on. So I'll put in a full address, it'll say nope, and I'll have to go back and check spelling and make sure there's no nuances, and then that's a little bit annoying. And Wisconsin has some of the strangest names of towns, hyphenated names, and if you don't have the hyphen the way they like it, it won't find. That's maddening. But once it's up and running, I really do like the satellite-based GPS system, which is what I'm chasing right now. But that's the entertainment for this morning. One of the great advantages of this job is, some people like to talk on the phone, and you've got a job, you're working, you're doing stuff, and you don't have. It's like, okay, I can't be talking about. I got to go do something. Well, I'm doing it right now. This is me doing my job, which is running down the road on cruise control, and I have the time to talk to people. I talk to family a lot, especially my crazy mother and my wife. We have time just to babble. And I'm a YouTube fan, and I find a topic, and I go down a rabbit hole. I mean, a lot of YouTube, you don't have to watch it, you just listen to it. They're just kind of droning on, talking about something. And I enjoy that a lot. And I find a topic, and I just start listening to it. And it's really interesting what you can learn about an issue. And I've been studying the Gulf War, my war era, and the military, the Soviet military. A strange philosophy. If you have a country with a military, you need to plan for war. The United States has a war college, so you don't just. It's like football practice. You go out there and you train and you practice, and you're ready to go do things. But what is your training based on? And the best you can do is to try to adapt to new technology and changes. But generally speaking, when you're planning ahead to go fight a war, you're basing it on the last war, which is the most current one you've been in. The problem is the next war is always different. The Soviet military based their military on World War II. They never moved their philosophy past that, which kind of was fascinating because the technology and the tactics and the ways wars have been fought have changed so much that I was taken aback by that, because in the Gulf War, 1991 Gulf War, that was as close as the United States military and the Soviet military had going face to face, because at the time the Iraqi army was the fourth biggest army in the world, and it was outfitted almost exclusively with Soviet hardware and Soviet doctrine and tactics, and they had Soviet advisors. And in the Soviet mindset, this is something that was ingrained in their system. They were, again, trying to refight World War II with mass numbers, and their general idea was Soviet tanks and American tanks were basically on par. Soviet aircraft and American aircraft are on par. So we're going to go up there and we're going to blow up some of theirs, and they're going to blow up some of ours. Back and forth, back and forth. And when the dust clears, they're going to win because they have more of it. Because that's how World War II was fought. And when that war kicked off, the technological gap between Western tactics and the United States military tactics and equipment and Soviet doctrine and equipment was so wildly different that it kind of shocked the military world, and to this day is look back on kind of in awe. The U.S. M1 tank in combat destroyed something along the tunes of 3,000 Iraqi tanks, and the Iraqis destroyed a grand total of 0 M1s in combat. That's a pretty wild kill ratio. And that went for aircraft and Bradley fighting vehicles. I mean, it was just a complete one-sided match. And that actually, remember, the Soviet Union went out of business in December of 91, and that they were already in their death spiral. And that pretty much finished them off, because nobody wanted to buy Soviet hardware after that, because they realized it's just completely outclassed. And it was wow. I'm starting to dig deeper and deeper into that, and I was taken off guard by it. How different it was. The big tank battle, the 73 Easting tank battle, happened in a sandstorm, and your visual range was about 100 yards, and after that, in the sand, you couldn't see. And the Iraqi army used infrared, which is a older, primitive night vision that just uses available amplified light and infrared light, whereas the American vehicles had thermal imagery, which is a different can of worms. And the amplified light cannot see through sand where thermals can. So they're sitting out there in the desert thinking, okay, it's nighttime, it's a sandstorm, we're safe for now. And the American army rolled up and just demolished them from the distance, and they didn't even know where the shots were coming from. They couldn't see it, they couldn't see the muzzle flashes, and they were out of range of their guns anyway. It was such a one-way street, it was bizarre. And that rabbit hole sent me off into another rabbit hole, which was the Afghan War, Soviet-Afghan War, 79 to 89. And there was a fledgling communist government inside Afghanistan, and they were trying to prop it up because the local yokels didn't like it. And the Soviets kind of inadvertently got themselves into that war. They thought that they were going to have the support of the people, and they really didn't. So they were there about a year, and they started kind of getting into combat operations, but the Afghan army was useless. They were going to stand back and just support. They ended up doing the combat. Within a year, they said, we need to get out of here, but they didn't know how. They didn't know how to back out of it. You kind of feel bad for them, but they didn't know what to do. They got stuck, and I didn't realize there was a backstory from the 60s and 70s that was involved in that. And then they got supported. It's a proxy war. The United States supported the local yokels to fight the Soviet military. It's kind of a reverse Afghanistan. The Iran-Iraq war that went on from 80 to 88, which was... That war went on in a small area, and neither side really knew what they were doing. It was kind of a World War I style slug match. You just go back and forth, and one side would roll into their country and capture a town, and they would say hooray, and hold flags and take pictures, and they'd retreat and go back to their side and park, and then the other side would attack and take the town, and another town, and they'd take their bags back. They accomplished nothing. The war stayed in a really small area. But I said, what was the purpose of, and why would Iraq launch a war into Iran like that? Well, it was right after the Shah got thrown out. We were allies with the Iranians, and the Shah of Iran got thrown out, and Khomeini came in for this ultra-Orthodox Muslim nation, and they were in turmoil, and they were weak. And Saddam Hussein of Iraq took a look at that and said, oh, they're weak, it's time to roll in and invade and catch them off guard. And it did. It worked for a while. And they also, I didn't know this, they had, within Iran, they had a minority. It was kind of the majority. I don't know, Sunni, the Shia, I don't know the difference. But they were looking to overthrow the government. And Iraq has a Sunni or Shia or whatever it is, minority group that he says, if these guys are successful overthrowing the Iranian government, now I got to worry about them coming in, overthrowing my government, because they say, wait a minute, this worked, we'll do it here too. So he had to go get the pot stirred up and get a war going so people would stop thinking about independence and doing their own thing. And I was like, wow, there's a backstory to these wars that I've really studied that far into it. They're fighting, but they just didn't roll out of bed on a Tuesday and say, hey, let's go to war. There had to be something behind it. There's all these backdoor deals, and even in Afghanistan, when the Soviets thought they were going in to prop up the government, but the guy in charge of the government was a clown. They ended up assassinating him, putting in a puppet. And I'm like, so you guys really didn't want to control that situation. It's like, wow. But I enjoy going down the road listening to history. If you ever consider getting into expediting, have some to occupy your time. If you're just jumping in, picked up a hydraulic arm for a tractor here at the Toyota plant. I posted a video inside the plant. I'm not supposed to, but I did anyway. And I'm going from East Chicago, down to Columbus, Indiana, direct. And I am hoping they can find me something to do this weekend. It is a 3-day weekend, President's Day. And if they don't find me anything, I'm going to be stuck here in wherever this is in Indiana. I'm going to Columbus with nothing to do for 3 days. And I don't want to do that. They were threatening me last night with a load to Florida, and I hate Florida because you can't get out of Florida because there's nothing in Florida coming north other than cocaine. But you can't get cargo out of there. So I was a little excited. They said call them at 7 this morning and they'll try to put you on just to occupy the weekend because it's like 1,200 miles or something. But they said it was gone, so somebody else got it, communists. So as soon as I drop, which will be before 1 o'clock local, I'm going to be calling the head shed, barking at them, because I don't want to be stuck for 3 days. Because when you're on the road and you're not doing anything, them days go slow. If I get stuck, what I end up doing is going to the movies or trying to find some museums or something. But I'd prefer to drive. And a weekend from the core area, which is the northeast part of the country, a good weekend run is to Laredo or the Mexican border. Anywhere along there, they do a lot of stuff. Or California. And I've done one California run, and I really enjoyed that drive. The pay is good. The drive is fun. My California run, I got to go up over the Rockies and stuff, and I enjoyed the scenery. I enjoyed going out west. I got to follow the Cannonball Run route that I had done years ago, which coming up next month. Holy crap! March, it'll be 6 years ago. Wow, that's a long time ago. Yeah, I did my Cannonball right before COVID kicked off. And that was March 12th and 13th of 2020 is when I did it. That was 6 years ago. Man, time flies. Anyway, so that's my fun. You're navigating, especially when you're doing cargo and you're going to someplace obscure, you can dial up a target in your GPS and you get there and it's not where it says it is. You're kind of in the middle of an open field somewhere going, wait a minute. So when I get close to a lot of these destinations, I will turn on all of my nav gear and put in the same information into all of them. And sometimes they don't agree. I mean, they're not miles apart, but they can be a mile or a half a mile apart. And I've done that where I'm dialing up and I'm looking, this one's zeroing out, this one says, 0.6 further on. So you kind of compare your results. And it's actually helped me find destinations a few times doing that. And if you still can't find your target and you're in an industrial area, I've called up dispatch and they can get a satellite view and kind of talk you in around where it's what it looks like from above, and that's helped out. But every once in a while I'll put an address in and it just says, I don't know what you're talking about. So I have discovered in Waze, which I really like the Waze app, you can put in the name of the company and it'll come up with the destination. Another trick to finding a destination. Currently 35 degrees. It's snowed up here recently, but as you can see, the roads are dry. Thank God. When it's icy, it slows you down a lot. You got to be careful because people drive like idiots. There's no shortage of that. I did some ice driving here recently, a few weeks ago in Michigan. I-94 east-westbound road that I seem to spend a lot of time on. It was icy. I was on cruise control and the van started to spin out, kind of like, it's rear-wheel drive. It started to spin. I was like, what's going on here? And I realized the road's got this ice cover. And I took it off cruise and just went back to driving manually. And later that evening, I was in Wisconsin, and I on that road that I would have been on earlier in the day because of the conditions. So I'm like, oops. So if you ever get in icy, snowy conditions, the easiest, of course you got to slow down, but the thing is, get away from everybody. Don't be driving close to other cars because they had clumps of vehicles in front of me and they were spinning out and they're all super close to each other. I'm like, dude, if you're going to lose it, you're going to hit somebody, or the other person that's losing is going to hit you, or, you got to have some room to maneuver. So just get away from them. Speed up, slow down, back away. I backed away from everybody. It was kind of on my own. Didn't have any problems. Down here. This guy's going to come on over in a second. Going back. At least the roads are fairly open today. That's nice. This is Interstate 65 southbound. I am on the northern part of Indiana right now, heading south. And this 65 takes me just about all the way to my target. And I do like the roads being open. Because I use the Pilot Flying J app. There was a special going on. Click, go into the app, and they'll give you free stuff, buy one, get one, or free this today if you're in there all the time. I had a buy one, get one of this type of energy drink, and I didn't really care for it, and that's why they were probably doing that. I had a guy sitting in a gate shack that let me out, in and out of this plan, and I said, here you go. I handed one to him. The other one, I wasn't really interested in it. But yeah, that's working the gate. In the summertime, being a guard, you're working in a glass box, and the sun's beating down on you, and it's wow. But it's cold this morning, and I asked him, do you have heat in there? And he goes, yeah, I had to bring a floor heater, and they don't give him heat. I'm like, well, that sucks, because it was 20-something degrees. Last night, I actually got to bed around 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a video I posted this morning of where I parked. When it's super cold, it's kind of hard to sleep when it's in the teens or the 20s. So I put my generator outside, fired it up, and ran my little floor heater. It doesn't make it hot in there, but it makes it comfortable enough where I can sleep. But when I have my generator outside, you're kind of exposed to you're making noise. You're kind of advertising you're there. I have it chained in the back of my van, but when you park out front where there's people milling around, you're kind of, people are walking by your vehicle, and here's this not cheap generator running. It's making a lot of noise. So what I do is I'll drive all the way into the parking for the trucks. Now, you never want to occupy a space that a truck can use, because truckers have an ongoing battle of trying to find some place to park at night, and because they have legal limits of how much they can drive. They can't do what I do, which is get out here and blast until you drop. They have, I think, 11 hours of driving a day or something they're allowed to do, and they're always competing for parking spaces. So don't go back there and stick your little van in a big truck parking spot. But there are oddball parking places, little weird corners and slices of real estate that a truck can't use. And that's, if I can find one, I'll use that and stay out of everybody's way. And I found a little wedge back there, and that was the video I shot about that, because it was very specific for me to back my van in. And then I pulled out the old generator and fired it up. And a lot of the trucks are running their engines at night for heat or air conditioning, depending. Some had little auxiliary motors, but there's noise back there, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm away from all the foot traffic. I'm surrounded by like-minded people. What's this guy doing right here? Well, that's not creepy looking. When you intercept somebody, you're kind of back there with the noise, and you're surrounded by like-minded people, and you can make a racket and nobody's going to notice it, which is cool. At the bottom of the screen, I can see stuff is popping up on the screen. I'm sorry, YouTube has a bunch of rules about reading while you're driving, so I can see stuff, but I can't read it until I'm stopped, and I'm not going to be stopped for a while. I apologize for that. I can scroll through it later. I've noticed that some people get on there and start talking amongst themselves, which is kind of cool, I think. But this is Indiana, Interstate 65 southbound. You've got remnants of snow on the sides of the roads here and there. That's about it for weather. I can't tell if it's windy. I got no indicators. There's a bunch of geese off the side of the road. I drove over some bridges last night, and I couldn't help but notice there were riverways that you would see miniature and mid-sized cargo ships. The riverways were completely frozen over. And I'm curious how they deal with that. Is the ice thin enough that the little cargo ships can break through it, or do they just have to wait and just not do commerce during that time frame? In case you're wondering, the speed limit is 70 and we're going 65. So, excuse me, 62. It's my aerodynamic speed. I will be, what is today, Friday? I need to be home 2 Mondays from now. So this coming week, I need to be home the 23rd. That Monday, the 20th, because I got to be somewhere on the 24th. So what I do up here is tell them, hey, they got it in my file. I need a Laredo run, basically. So I'll be running around in the core, which is the northeast quadrant of the country, grab something, run it down to the border, drop it, dead head home, which is about 300 miles, which is a drive, but usually you get paid pretty good going down there, down in the border area. I had posted this video when I went to Hildago, which is a border town by McAllen, and it was a morning drop, and I got down there and parked in a pilot, and there were birds in a tree right in front of the vehicle, and they were loud. They were super duper loud, and well, I guess one of them took off and hit my antenna because it made this racket, and I had enough time to get out, turn my camera on, and look up, and the antenna was still whipping around. I mean, it went clang. I'm like, what the hell? And it gave it a hit. Indiana Welcome Center. All right. I'm looking down. I'm not supposed to. I'm looking down. Autobahn. I've been on the. This is not the Autobahn. I've been on the Autobahn. I've been. It was back in the 80s. It's a lot of fun. Whole different philosophy of driving over there. Why the Autobahn is safe? A, the roads are superior, and everybody's got the same mindset. Over here, the speed, you'll get too much of a variety of speed, and that's where it gets dangerous. But yeah, I agree. It's about the Autobahn. I agree. The Autobahn's a whole lot more fun. It's just travel is just different, and something. And this is a total side note. something that drives me crazy about Volkswagen and the European mindset on cars is they're going to electric cars, which, yeah, electric cars are great for a certain application, but over in the States, it's not. They give you an idea, because you're driving short distances in Europe. You could take the state of Texas and superimpose it over Western Europe and cover it. That's just Texas. Poof, done. And that's, electric cars don't work. And I just wish they would, like, I'm a Volkswagen fan. I've owned 5 Volkswagen Bugs in my life. And I would buy the bus. They call it a Buzz now, the bus. I would buy one tomorrow if they put a motor in it. All right, I'm going to whip into this rest area for a second. I'm going to see what's going on up here, and I'm going to read what's going on. I'm seeing stuff scroll across the screen here. Indiana rest area. What's Indiana known for? They got a football team, the Colts. That's about it. Okay, cruise kicked off. Pull in here. Indiana Welcome Center. My completely normal mother saves. She likes road maps. Of course, I like road maps too. Oh, this is kind of fancy looking. Oh, this is really fancy looking. Oh, look at this setup. It's got like a windmill going up here. So they build these on the side of the road, and somebody was in here one day from India, and they said, "Oh, look what they do to help people go pee." Boy, look at this place. Is that a windmill? It's a windmill. Whoa. Boy, these guys are getting fancy. Look in here. Look at that. Huh. Interesting. All right. Sit here for just a second. We also don't like electric cars in Germany. Yeah, I agree. All right. Yeah, like I said, if you live in a city somewhere and you're going to stay in a small geographic area, yeah, that's fine. But if you're doing cross-country stuff, that isn't working. That just doesn't work here. And Volkswagen's saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to nothing but electric." I'm like, okay, you just lost. Your market share wasn't that big to begin with, and now you just lost it. All right, I got to power down for a minute. I got to go in here, and if I can, I'll come back on here in a couple minutes. We'll call it part 2. All righty, take care.